another 30 seconds. We want to be on time, so we'll do that. I have 5:30. So on this day, April the 14th, at 5:30 p.m., I will call to order the meeting of the East Porter County School Corporation Business Meeting. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance for a moment of silence?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda is public input on agenda items. Mr. Gobranson, did you want to sign up for this evening? Say something.
No.
Okay. I want to give you certainly the opportunity. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda, consisting of items 2A, approval of the minutes, business meeting, April the 14th, 2025. Item 2B, financial matters payroll. Item 2C, financial matters claims list. And item 2D, approval of personnel report. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Consent items 2A, 2B, 2C, and 2D.
Was moved by Mrs. McFalls. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Starr. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, then I'll call the motion. All those in favor of approving the items that are listed as consent agenda, 2A, approval of minutes, business meeting, 2B, financial matters payroll, 2C, financial matters claims list, and 2D, approval of personnel report, signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Motion passes 5-0. Do we have any personnel?
We're talking about the revised personnel, correct?
Yes. Do we have any?
Not with us this evening. I know Mrs. Hinkle and I had talked about her coming, something must have come up this evening.
Okay.
But we are pretty excited about having Mrs. Hinkle as the elementary principal at Cox.
Okay, great. All right. Next on the agenda is item 3A. It's the first reading of policies 1302, 1305, 1400, 4420, and 8500.
So in front of the board tonight, basically it is just the board policy that you all worked on during your work session last month. A couple things that I do want to bring note to when you're looking at the public comment. Basically, it's pretty much what we are already doing. It's 3 minutes with a total of 3 minutes per patron, a total of 30 minutes. Just talks a little bit about the board president or whoever is administering the meeting would be the person running that in there. There was a question that I had received in regards to board members being able to ask questions or anything along those lines during other presentations of other board materials. And that is not impacted by the public participation policy. So later tonight, like when we do something for painting or something like that, the board is still able to entertain questions from that. When you're looking at the other big one that I wanted to look at is I did make some 4420. When I was looking over the materials from the work session, there were some conflicting errors or conflicting portions in that. So I had gone through and cleaned up the language a little bit on that. Basically, the board does recognize the local parentis of the school in doing that. So if the law enforcement is coming just to interview and the child is not suspected in anything, we'll work with them on that. But at the same time, we are trying to discourage law enforcement from doing it unless there's no other time that they can do it. We'll incur, if there's a warrant or anything, obviously we're held by court warrants. But if the officer is looking to interrogate because they're suspected of a crime or something along those lines, the parent would be contacted first before any of those interrogations would take place. If it's just talking to them in interviews because they need some help on something else, the school would be acting in local parentis, but we would alert and let parents know that their child was talked to. Other than that, it is basic. Well, the policies are written in the way that the board was looking at. I did have one last question simply because I was not part of it. When you're looking at the agenda preparation and the distribution of materials, currently the policy is looking to have the public having access at the same time the board has access. I just want to make sure that that is the direction that you were looking to go, because I know there was some conversation about making it publicly available on the Monday of, or I just, for my clarification, since I wasn't part of that conversation.
Anybody have any recollection?
I thought it was on the Friday before the meeting. I know that's when we try to get it to us, but I know with new members, you try to give things that were coming, like things we predicted in the future. We've
Sure.
gotten a little bit ahead of time before that, so we could read over it. But I thought it was Friday. On that, was it Friday? A Monday session?
Okay,
Yeah,
so
the
it's
day before.
3 calendar days ahead of time.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking.
Just for my clarification, when we revise the policy, it used to say on the copies that I got, when the initial policy was written,
Yes.
so that be on the final reading.
Yes,
And when we do that, do we keep those original?
they are archived.
Because I was hunting through things for the Couts kids that are doing the research on, and I can't believe how many I have. You can imagine how many folders I have of things that I found. And it was just good to see where they started from and where they are now.
So yes, anything that, I think it's since 2018, 2017, 2018, ever since board docs has been utilized for the policy, anytime there's been any changes or anything, those are all archived inside of board docs. Part of the reason that you do not have that information on these particular ones, because as the policies were updated on this, they were done more like hard copy and hand copied and typed into Word, and not necessarily utilizing board docs because there were some questions or confusion about red lines and stuff along those lines. Mm-hmm. And so they went through and they typed them up as opposed to on that. But yes, the all that information is stored in board docs. So when you pull up the policy, it has all those dates.
And one other question. In regard to policy development, when we say that the board considers policy development its chief function, and one of the copies I had must have just ended that this and says then along with providing a wherewithal such as personnel, buildings, materials, and equipment for the successful administration, application, and execution of its policies. From all of the state school board meetings that I've ever attended,
we were told that financial accountability and board policy and final hiring final hiring and firing of personnel upon the recommendation of administration was what, does that second sentence imply that? Is that what that's saying?
Yes, because it says along with providing the wherewithal such as. The other part of what we could do, Mr. Martin, is looking at that, we can say the board considers policy development one of its chief functions.
That would make me feel more comfortable.
And that's easy. That's an easy addition.
Do we need to make
No.
that in the form of an amendment or as a first reading?
It's just for first reading, and that's something that we can definitely
Make the second.
Does everybody understand where I'm coming from?
Yes. If there is any other discussion, if not, then I'm looking for a motion.
Oh, I have a
No,
question.
there is no motion.
Oh, that's right, because it's only
This is
first reading.
reading.
Sorry.
So I have a question. And maybe it's right, first policy passing. Will we read these out loud? Like first reading, do we read them out loud or just?
We have not,
Okay.
basically, we've talked about what the changes are in those
Okay.
particular ones. They will be made available, because one of the questions that I had for the board too is even though the policy's not there, I would like to go ahead and start publishing the documents. Just saying that, making sure that it's okay to do that. I know that's the intent of getting there. And so these will be, the policies would be made public before that board meeting, so the public would have opportunity to go to it. That way, it's also, because one of the policies is the public having opportunity to do it or to discuss or have questions or present their concerns or thoughts on the policy during the public comment portion. So therefore, in order to do that, they would actually have to have access to it.
Right.
So, yeah, we'll have all of the proposed policies from this time forward posted before the meeting so that people can see it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more questions, comments? If not, then we'll move to item 3B, approval for COUTS server update.
So as part of our technology plan, we're needing to update the COUTS server. It's 7 years old. It's part of our tech plan. We did Morgan's last year, and we are anticipating to do Washington Townships next year. So we're asking the board to approve the purchase and the installation for $26,311.
Do I hear a motion for approval for the COUTS server update?
I'll make a motion for the COUTS server update.
It's been moved by Mrs. Moore. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. McFall. Any questions, comments?
I have some questions. Angela, on the server update, so I read through the notes for the next one, right? Projects aren't included in our,
Not if they're to replace something that exists, like, something breaks and it's replaced. So we had some storm damage, for example.
Right.
Some things were broken to replace that stuff, but not new equipment that is brand new to the system.
okay. Do we have support hours built into our contract? And forgive me, because I did not have a chance to review the contract before today.
Yes,
Do we use them every month or do we have rollover?
it's unlimited.
It's unlimited. Okay, cancels out that question. Are we migrating anything to those servers?
So what is on the COUTS servers now? So the COUTS servers are the file servers.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? It's been moved and seconded. I will call the question. All those in favor of action item 3B signify by raising your hand. Motion passes 5-0. Next item is approval for firewall update.
So our firewall is expiring at in what is it, February of next year? And so with the different activities going on, it is going to be, and this is one of the areas that we have found some significant challenges that we've had because of the design of our last firewall and the different layers. And so it is going to take us a little bit more time, and Angela can tell you that I was putting her through because I don't understand why we needed to prove it at this particular point in time and not have it activated like in January so that it's ready to go for February. But in my education, I am told that it takes longer than a month to put all those rules and different things in. But because one of my concerns was I do not want to pay an overlap of having two firewalls for multiple months on that. So, but at the same time, we are asking the board to approve the purchase of the firewall. And we are working with Booker Tech to have it not go live until as late as possible so that we get the longevity of the 5-year firewall. Did I butcher that too bad, Mrs. Pine?
No, I just like to add, there will be downtime with no internet. And so I'm trying to avoid when students and teachers are in the building for that downtime.
Any other questions? Do I hear a motion for approval for firewall update?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. McFalls. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Starr. Again, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of approval for firewall update signify by raising your hand. Motion passes 5-0. Next item is 3D, approval for 2025 Phase 2 camera upgrades.
With all of the different cameras and security functions that we have because of our cameras, it was unrealistic for us to do it all at one time. And we're also trying to create revitalization plans simply so that it's on a rotating basis. So in doing so, this is Phase 2, and I believe there's one more phase.
It's 5 years, so this is
Okay,
2 of 5.
this is 2 of 5. I was hoping that we could get it done. But anyway, simply so that we can better chunk it out. So we are asking for the board to approve this as this is Phase 2. And it's updating some of the cameras that are no longer functioning.
Any questions? I'm looking for a motion to approve the 2025 Phase 2 camera upgrade.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. McFalls. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Moore. Again, any questions, comments?
I guess my only question would be how often does somebody review the camera information?
What do you mean by reviewing the information?
Well, do we only look at it if there's been a problem? Do we review the feed from the camera regularly? What do we do?
It's a great question. It all depends on what's taking place. I know I actually look at the cameras in the mornings, especially if I'm trying to determine what the fog is. So I do utilize the outside so that I can see all of them other than just where I can go out and drive because I can only cover so much on that. It is also, yes, primarily I would say most of the usage has to go through with whether something was damaged for student discipline.
Secretaries also
But
have access
secretaries-
every day in front of them.
Correct. Because if you
Is it
recall,
needed then, if there has been no problem, how long is the information?
so 30 days,
30 days. So
we hold it for 30
So if
days,
we haven't seen a problem within 30 days,
then it's deleted. But then we go through, but remember, what was it last year? And Mr. DeSuite made the recommendation that we've got the monitors, because there's a static monitor up so that we can see the entrances all there. But then also remember, we had it set up so that when a door opens, that camera for that door opening automatically pops up so that our secretaries are aware of what's coming into the building. Even if it's not coming from the front, it pops up on those. So primarily principals use it for discipline on that, but we do have other uses that we use our cameras for.
Used in, like, workers' comp issues.
Yeah, we've had to do some slip and falls.
Any questions, comments?
I just had a question for, looking at the cost, Washington Township was twice that of Morgan and Counts. Is that just because we're installing more cameras there?
So we installed most of the new ones last year in phase one, like ones, so we did a survey of the building level principals to talk and SRO to talk about what we needed to cover for safety. So last year we added most of the new cameras. There are some new cameras on there in the remaining areas that don't have enough coverage, according to the admin and building. Washington Township has the most cameras on their campus, and their cameras were the oldest. So we put the oldest cameras at the top priority of replacing if we're looking at the 5-year plan back. So whereas this year they have more of the cameras, next year they won't have as many.
Perfect, thank you.
Does the number of cameras we have reduce our insurance liability at all?
They never ask about
Have
cameras.
we ever asked them if
We
we
have not,
can get a reduction?
we have not, but we can.
Probably makes
Never
it
heard of
worse.
Probably
For
would.
cybersecurity, cybersecurity probably is worse. So,
And-
yeah.
Any other questions? Seeing none, then I'll call the question. All those in favor for approval for the 2025 phase 2 camera upgrade signify by raising your hand. Motion passes 5-0. Next item is 3E, approval to declare zero value for technology equipment.
We're asking the board to help us so that we can get rid of excess and old, outdated, non-functioning technology.
Any questions on that, ladies, gentlemen? Okay, then I'm looking for a motion to approve zero value for technology equipment, old technology equipment.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Martin. Is there a second? Second by Mrs. McFalls. Any comments, discussion? Seeing none, then I'll call the question. All those in favor of approval to declare zero value for technology equipment, signify by raising your hand. Motion passes 5-0. Next item is 3F, approval of Washington Township Dole Gym renovation.
So in there, we are asking the board to grant us the permission to paint the gym. It is my understanding, though, that the board had inquired what it would be if we only painted a portion of it. And so our recommendation is to paint the entire gym. However, if the board only wants to go up to the dole, it would be a difference in a savings of $17,925.
Questions? Comments?
One of my questions is this money we're taking out of bond money?
Yes.
Well, I had one of my cohorts go look and give a woman's opinion, so I've changed my opinion.
What might that be?
Do it all.
Do it all with me. All right. Any other comments?
I also
Go ahead.
did seek some outside information for people in the building and just to kind of give some information what they thought would be there. My understanding is there are banners up there that are hanging in the elementary in Dole. Is that
Yes.
correct? And so those need to be moved to the high school because they are technically high school banners. Am I wrong? Am I right on that?
They could be.
Yeah, so then once those are moved, there will be there's a major possibility, because obviously they're high enough, I'm not moving them, that
Sure.
could be a different color than what's been reflected on the round it. Okay. Yeah, that's part of my. Yes, Craig, sorry.
Just as a conversation went with the and I don't know Dr. Case wasn't there, so don't put him there, but the, high school administrator, the AD and the principal in the elementary said they will not be hanging those banners in the high school. Those banners will come down and they will be removed.
Okay.
That is what they have requested. Now, if that request comes to something else, but that is their request, I will function accordingly. I'll put them back up. I'll put them wherever you want them. But
So which banners are we talking about? The one that's,
it's the high school banners. They're the ones on the south part of the building. I believe on the south wall.
but what about like, is the one of Alicia Polite as an all-stater, is that one of these that we're considering?
It's coming down.
I thought she was, is she not, I thought she's posted in the high school. Gym.
Sir, I can't tell you, but the
I'm
signs,
not sure. I'm old.
the signs they've requested to leave there are the PCC signs. That would be on the east wall. Other than that, the decals and logos will stay.
And they've been reprogrammed into the high school. I mean, they're accounted for in the high school.
Yes.
So I move to proceed with the project, the whole thing.
For $94,000?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Martin makes a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Moore. Any other discussion or questions?
Just reiterating, this is also all the ceiling parts that are non-tile.
Repairing or taking out all old tile, replacing with new tile, painting the grid, painting the entire gym.
Thank you.
Good, you're good?
Yep.
Okay, then I'll call the question. All those in favor of approval of the Washington Township Dole Gym renovation for the total cost of $94,900 signify by raising your hand. Okay, motion passes 5-0. Next item is 3G, approval to utilize the RDC grant funding.
So every year we are asked to apply for the RDC grant. And so we are just sharing with the board our intent and utilization of the RDC grant. Mr. Lichtenberger came before the board earlier this school year to talk about applying for some different things. And we're looking at implementing a different course that would require some robotic or advanced manufacturing. He and I worked on a grant. We did not get the grant. However, we are still working on, there was leftover from the grant distribution. But in order to still be able to get a start, we are looking at potentially utilizing the RDC money to help fund about $70,000 of that. And then the other ones would be utilized, or the remaining portion of the grant would be to help purchase the Chromebooks for our cycle that we have for our students.
Good thing. Bob, as you would always say, it's our money anyway, right?
I would say that, yes.
Which is interesting because I did see some legislation, I don't know where it's at today, but on Friday we were, I was talking with some superintendents, and the legislators were toying around with the idea of making the RDC pass-through of like 15%, where it's an automatic pass-through, simply to, as part of their recognizing that what they were presenting for property taxes would take a significant hit towards schools. So for us, I don't know, I've got to look at the 15% because the RDC is also now giving money towards PCES. And I also heard that they might even be looking at some of our parochial and giving some of that money out to different areas. So I still have some research to do on that part. But for today, we are focusing on the amount that they have allocated for this grant.
I'm looking for a motion then for 3G approval to utilize RDC grant funding.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Martin. Is there a second? Second by Mrs. McFalls. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, then I'll call the question. All those in favor of 3G approval to utilize RDC grant funding, signify by raising your right hand. That motion passes 5-0. Next item is 3H, approval of Washington Township overnight basketball field trip.
So just looking for the boys, permission for a boys overnight field trip for the Super Hoops.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Martin. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Starr. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, then I'll call the question. All those in favor of item 3H, approval of Washington Township overnight basketball field trip, signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Motion passes 5-0. Next item is item 3I, approval of Couts varsity basketball overnight field trip.
So this is kind of a retroactive one. As we have seen in the past, we've been fortunate where some of our athletic teams or DECA competitions or things happen after a public board meeting or business meeting. And so we're just asking you to approve the overnight stay as our student athletes attended and participated in the Summit State basketball game.
Do I hear a motion for approval of the Couts varsity basketball overnight field trip?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. McFalls. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Martin. Any questions, comments? Call the question. Those in favor of item 3I, approval of Couts varsity basketball overnight field trip, signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Motion passes 5-0. Next item is 3J, approval of Suman Das Vinayak Hospitality LLC donation.
So this is a donation to be put into the Community Foundation for Washington Township Scholarships. So we are asking the board to approve the $2,000 donation to be utilized towards Washington Township graduates for scholarship.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Martin. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Moore. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of item 3J, approval of Suman Das Vinayak Hospitality LLC donation, signify by raising your hand. Motion passes 5-0. Next item is 3K, approval of a work session to be scheduled for April.
Actually, Mr. McFerrin, I would like to add one more item for an update. It's not on yours.
Okay,
So last Thursday, we had a Gift of Green meeting at the cooperative at Keystone. And during that time, there was a question, because just so you know what Gift of Grain is, every fall, farmers are asked to donate X number or some bushels of grain that then goes into an endowment that is held by the Community Foundation. The committee is really looking at how do we increase the knowledge and just awareness of all the different careers that you can find in agriculture. They really want, the mission is to educate kids to grow and enhance agriculture in Porter County.
so is that going to be item 3L or?
So, yeah, in board docs, it's actually 3K.
Okay,
And in doing so, one of the questions that was asked is there anything that East Porter could use to help with that, whether it's through the horticulture or their ag program? So it was decided by that committee to donate $3,000 to be utilized for that. And Ms. Stoner is going to be using it to purchase potting soil, pots. They are looking at doing their first seed fundraiser or plant fundraiser this year, where they've started growing tomato plants, pepper plants, and just different vegetables, and they will be looking to sell them now that they've got them propagated. And so Mr. Higbee stopped by Friday afternoon and dropped off a check for $3,000 to be utilized. Normally, I would say, that's awesome, we'll approve it at our next board meeting. However, she's really wanting to, or needing to get that soil and, I made an error, I will publicly say that I called it dirt at that meeting. And the one thing that I learned really quickly, if you're in a room full of farmers, don't use the word dirt, it's soil. So that she can get these purchased to help with finishing out some of the projects of the year. And so I apologize for the late notice on that, but I do ask the board to approve the $3,000 donation to be used by Ms. Stoner in our agriculture and horticulture classes.
So I'm looking for a motion for item 3K, approval of Porter County Community Foundation donation for the gift of grain, amount of $3,000.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Starr. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. McFalls. Any discussion, comments? We'll see, then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of item 3K, approval of Porter County Community Foundation donation of $3,000 for the gift of grain, signify by raising your hand. Motion passes 5-0. Now we go to 3L, approving a work session to be scheduled for April 28th.
It has been brought to my attention that there are some board members that would like to add a work session, being that our next scheduled work session is not until June, currently scheduled. And so there are some items that the board would like to discuss and work through. So the date would be April 28th that's being proposed.
Do I hear a motion for approval of a work session to be scheduled for April 28th?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. McFall. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Mrs. Moore. Any discussion or comments? Okay, seeing none, then call the question. All those in favor of item 3L, approval of work session to be scheduled for April 28th, signify by raising your hand. Motion passes 5-0. Next item is 4A. Is there any board member discussion? Guys, you gotta have something. I know you want to get out of here.
I really enjoyed doing the listening tours these last 2 weeks and getting to meet the teachers at all of the different schools, the maintenance staff, the bus drivers. I appreciated them taking their time to share their thoughts with us and donuts.
It was very enlightening, and we have a lot of great employees, and we're certainly blessed to have that. And the people are up here and others too, went on listening tours. We visited 6 campuses, 3 bus barns, 3 cafeterias, and over 100 associates sat and talked with us and expressed their opinions. For the most part, very positive people, and I'd certainly recommend them. And there was at least 5 or 6 that said they were at bigger schools, making more money, and wanted to come here because of the environment, and are very happy with where they are. So that was very much enlightening as well. So we'll have a full report, and perhaps we'll share that at the work session here. Any other board member discussions?
It's always enjoyable to do those tours. It's fun to see the people, but to see the change of the guard. There is a changing of the guard. Mrs. Russell's retiring at Washington after 34 years there and 41 years total. And there was a 36. Whichever, it was 30 some. I think she had all 4 of my kids. She's a very good teacher. And then to hear this teachers that have only been there a year or 2 years and have come from larger schools, actually a couple of them have been talked into coming to Washington Township by Washington Township's teachers, and said in all honesty they wouldn't go back, which was interesting to hear that was elementary teachers saying that. And the one comment I would make is I asked questions kind of as a follow-up of 2 years ago was the last time I was on a tour. We didn't do it last year, but Rick and I and Vanessa froze our tails off in the bus barn. No, we talked about,
Washington Township bus barn, yeah.
no, we talked about putting insulation in that for a year or two.
Well, the bathroom is very hot
The
there.
bathroom is very good, and they made it very clear. We want to get where we go. But I know we've discussed it in the past, and I just would encourage us to consider it as a part of our capital projects. And I didn't go to the councilman,
They need a bathroom
We need
there.
a bathroom.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be all.
but I'm just saying, things like that are just practical things that make it more livable for people that are in Indiana's climate is always high on my priority list. So it was good to hear those things.
Anything else? We have item 4B, additional items from superintendent.
So big, just first want to recognize Regional Plumbing for a donation of $350 as a donation to the mock trials state trip that they had at Washington Township Middle School, High School. Again, it just goes to say how awesome our community and generous they are. I am looking at, Mrs. Nieves and I have we are meeting with Baker Tilly tomorrow to have conversation about, we approached the board a little while back to just start thinking about taking advantages of some geo bonds or, so as we go through and look at that, we've got significant debt falling off 26, 27. And looking at going the next stages, Mr. Kenworthy has been having some conversations with roofing people because we toyed around a while back with some solar and whether to put them on the roofs, whether to put them in the fields. Currently, we cannot control the increases that we are constantly seeing in our public services. Our utility bills continue to escalate. Our usage isn't going up, but just the amount that we're paying for them. We have recently seen a spike in our water and sewage in the town of Counts as they are looking at doing some upgrades to their utilities and their facilities. And Valpo as well. And so what I would like to do is get a little bit of direction from the board as we're sitting in that. We've been utilizing the geo bonds to help offset some of our capital projects list and to help our operating funds so that we're not having to transfer as much from education to operations. But as we go through, obviously, maybe looking at a bathroom at the Couch Barn and some insulation. Those are some little things that we're looking at. But if we were to look at doing roofs, if we want to put solar on the roofs, it's going to be significantly expensive, plus the solar. But at the same time, if we do the solar, that would be a way to try to take some of the operating money back because we're not necessarily paying to NIPSCO. If you looked at Senate Bill 1 or House Bill 1001, you will see that the state is not necessarily looking at increasing too much funding, if any, to schools. Braun has made the whole push of the do more with less. They are also looking at cutting and creating a deficit for us with the way that we collect property taxes. Looking at enrollment, we have a little over 180 students that will be graduating out in June, which will be an exciting, and that's what we're all about, right? The challenge is currently we've got about 104 students registered for kindergarten. And quick math, that's about 80 kids difference. And without seeing an increase in the state funding and seeing a decline in in our enrollment, we really need to be looking at, do we want to put some things out there for publicity? Are we going to do like a campaign to try to increase our transfers? So that way it increases our ADM. Or the other part is how do we go about utilizing and reducing some of our expenses? Because if we're putting solar or anything along those lines, we have the bonding capacity to do it because we are. So I guess what I'm asking for is, do you want me to have that conversation looking at something big? Or the GO bond, and just continue to, utilize that for some of our operating. Personally, if we go big, we just realize that with 26 students in kindergarten, that gets us real close to one section in two of our buildings. And so as we look long-term, what is that gonna look like? But regardless, if we are doing that, you're still gonna need to maintain 3 campuses. So solar roofs, and we can do some things, it's gonna cost. I'm estimating with some of the HVAC, and please don't hold me to this number in any way, shape, or form. I'm just looking at some estimates, and I know Mr. Kenworthy is on that. Probably 12 to 15 million by the time you do roof, solar, and some HVAC. And then we could throw bathrooms on that. GO bond, we would be looking at something more along the lines of 4.
But that enrollment figure is not just for this corporation.
Oh, it's throughout the state.
Throughout the United States.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But at the same time, I'm just looking at, as we start looking at some of the bonding, I'm asking, do you want me to look more of that short term on that or long term, knowing that we've got some significant, because regardless of how we do it, we would continue to do what we have done here at East Porter and try to stay or remain tax neutral. So we are not seeing an increase in the tax rate. And if you looked at what we've done over the past few years, our tax rate is actually reduced, which is a good thing for our taxpayers. And I know there are some concerns about tax rates, but it's not, or taxes, but it's not because of the rate. It's because of the significant increase that people have seen in their assessed valuation.
One of my,
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Val.
go ahead, no, maybe. so.
Well, I was just gonna ask about, the applied skills class and maybe bringing enrollment here and keeping our kids here. What about that plan? Like,
We still get the funding for those students because, and then we just pay that out to the other students. But yes, that is still on the horizon. And if we're doing a bigger project, we would be looking at remodeling some of those rooms so that they would be more in line with what the needs of those kids are.
And for special education, we don't try to look for ways to cut costs, but we have to maintain our maintenance of equity with that, so we have to spend the same amount next year as we did this year on special education. We can't reduce that, if that makes sense, unless we have a huge reduction in students in that area, but it's not, if we brought them here and we saved a bunch of money, we still have to spend it on special education to maintain that.
But-
It's about-
no,
I didn't say anything.
The refresh me on what our in to out ratio is as far as transfers in and transfers out.
I don't know the exact numbers right off the top of my head. I know that our net is right around between 60 and 70 maybe, would be the best guess that I would have.
That seems lower than what it's been in
It is.
the past.
It is. But with what legislation's doing, we might see something different because the state is pushing really hard, and I haven't heard how the protests went today. But there was protests down at the state level because they are trying to dissolve union schools. The state is looking to dissolve union schools.
So to break the unions.
No,
Union
union
school
school is
is a
a
particular
very
school.
small, it is a very, yes, it is a specific school that the vast number of their student body is virtual. So they, less than 50% of their kids, matter of fact, I think it's much less than 50%, actually live in district.
And where's it located? In Indianapolis, what is it?
It's southern, it's a little south, I think it's a little south of there, because when I was doing my, transfer, data sheet that I let you guys know every fall, I had to look Union up, because when I first saw it, thought it was Union Township, and I was sitting there going, how are they getting so many of our kids? But it's not, it's, where is it? Modoc. And, but we're talking thousands of kids that are going there now because of, and it's all virtual.
But I guess from my standpoint, like for the work session that we're gonna do in 2 weeks, it would be interesting to have ideas of how we might increase enrollment. I know it's been 10 years ago,
We had a riddle.
15 years ago,
We went to,
we had
we had board, we
a
had a,
committee, Tim Booker, because he was the tech guru at that time on the board, put together pamphlets that we actually had in Realtor stands as the benefit side in trying to find things for the seniors for that article they're doing. I found some of them.
Okay.
But,
it increased our,
oh yeah, we had to start turning them away. We started turning kids away. But along with that, I would like to know if we can get a number of kids that are district kids that aren't coming to our school, like that are going, a total number that are going to either Victory or.
Oh, yeah, I have that.
Okay, and their reasoning and what might bring them to us. If we could put a survey
I
out.
don't always have.
No, I know.
Yeah. Well, I have numbers, but I don't necessarily know who. The other part that I don't know, that we can't get a hold of, is I don't know how many homeschool kids we have, because the state does not track that.
Okay.
But I know the number of students that are, getting the choice scholarships.
But the state doesn't track homeschool, but the money probably still follows the kid, doesn't it?
Not yet, but there has been something about HSAs or educational savings, because they've gone through where, I know with special ed, they give some parents, money if they're homeschooling them.
I would just encourage us to be at a brainstorming, and you guys brainstorm, and we can, and even if you would contact Mr. Booker and see if he'd be interested in
Let's see what
putting
he says.
something technologically together for us.
big marketing campaign, in other words.
Yeah.
What we did, yeah.
Good conversation. Marketing, public education.
And
Whatever
during the
else.
listening to her, some of the teachers were saying that they felt people were leaving because if we're gonna have larger class sizes, then they can just go anywhere, that they were here for the small sizes. So,
Anything else additional from the superintendent?
Do you need a direction from us on that?
I was just
tonight, or
looking
just
for
to-
big things or little things. I was just curious, how you wanted me to, because those are two different conversations that you have with, Baker Tilly. Whether we're gonna go for a larger bond, or because one of them is the lease bond and the other is the GO bond, which have different requirements.
Would the GEO bond have enough to cover new roofs?
No.
Okay. How are the ages of our roofs? Like what?
That's one of the things that I'll be bringing to you on there. We do have, I know Mr. Kenworthy has gone through, he and I talked about having a rotation. Cause one of the challenges that we have, and a drawback, if we hit the roofs and do like solar on them, that means when they come up to, their age again, you gotta do them all at the same time. So what we've been looking at is doing a rotation so that we're not having that big fight every 20 years. Because we're doing the same thing with our asphalt, same thing with our painting in our classrooms, just trying to create a cycle so that it's continuous, as opposed to constantly hitting that one time and having to do a bond just to take that big hit.
I'd be interested, I don't know if you can, get numbers from other districts. Cause I would probably say I'm the most uneasy with solar. But I feel like we have to have a discussion about it, and we're at a point where we have to talk about our costs. I would like to know, like, what they actually get, like, what does it save them to have the solar? I know there's probably 2 districts that I can think of locally. My thought would just be, I would like more numbers on that.
Sure.
What is the actual savings for spending the money to have them put, and I'm not saying where, I know there's different costs for that, but just thought I would like to know maybe how many panels there actually are. Is that feasible? Because my thought would be, I don't want to compare to a district that's got 800 panels. We're not putting 800 panels in my mind in. So someone would be, comparable. What are their savings? And, even the thoughts and input on it. So I don't know if that's something you could get for.
We can work on that. What I will tell you though, in my conversation with those districts that are local on that, all of their savings have been eaten up by the increases.
Okay.
But if you didn't
But
do
it
it,
does
then
cover
you'd
the,
be-
it does cover the increases though.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you're talking, we've had like a 20% increase.
Yeah.
So yeah, their savings have been getting eaten up by the NIPSCO increases.
But it still saves.
The challenge that you also have to look at is when our solar panels are at their highest production, we don't have school.
So are there ways to store?
You can't, not necessarily storing. What there was in, the power companies have been fighting this and it's been reducing. You would have what was called net metering. So the power company would pay you or give you credit for X amount on the kilowatts, and I would tell you it was not 1 for 1.
Well, because it's also, we'd be getting solar during, when we're not using it, but when more of the community is, with air conditioning and everything, is there ever?
Correct, and that's where
plans
that
to
net metering.
sell it back. I know.
That's
in
where
California
that,
they
yeah,
do
but
that.
it's not 1 for 1,
No.
not even
Of course not.
close. But there is some net metering that does take place.
Good.
Start a conversation.
Awesome, thank you. That's all I have for you this evening.
In that case, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. Moved by Mrs. McFalls. Is there a second? I'll stay here all night. Huh?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Starr.
Throw one like got me.
All those in favor of adjourning signify by raising your hand. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you all.